Good morning, everyone. First off, a big thank you to everyone who decided to attend today to learn a little bit on the updates to commercial activity tax. To introduce myself, my name is Amanda Fletcher, and I am a tax examiner manager in the business tax division. Today, we are going to review some of the updates that we've received in commercial activity tax. And my hope is that by the end of the presentation, you have a clear understanding of the CAT changes and you're able to determine how they may or may not affect you or your client. Before we begin, there are a few items I would like to review with you now based on the recent phone calls and correspondence that we've received here at the department. For one, the presentation that you're seeing today, it will be available on our website at tax.ohio.gov. Number two, if you are canceling your account due to the tax law changes, we do ask that you please use the end date of 12/31 of 2023. And also, if you cancel your account with that 12/31 date, you do still have that requirement to file your final return. And you can file that on the gateway even after your account has been canceled. So this slide, we wanted to provide just a disclosure slide to inform everyone that today's session is going to include just a high overview of general information, and any information should not be considered legal or tax advice. Any changes made by legislature may change the accuracy of the content, and keep in mind that depending on the situation, any small difference can change the outcome and have a different impact on the changes and how they may affect you. As always, we do have a fantastic group of examiners ready and willing to assist and answer your questions. We can be contacted at the numbers you see here on the screen. And also just to mention, during this presentation, we do have a group of SMEs, subject matter experts, who will be available to answer your questions. So any questions that you have, please feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll get those answered for you as soon as possible. So the topics that we're going to cover today include what is commercial activity tax. We'll talk about what that is, some of the filing requirements, and the frequently asked questions that we've received so far. So just for some historical context, the House Bill 33, otherwise known as the Budget Bill, this was passed and included quite a few changes that did affect commercial activity tax. With that said, our taxpayer base for CAT will be decreasing quite significantly. So we'll go over that here in just a bit. So first, let's talk about what commercial activity tax is. So the CAT is an annual tax that imposed on the privilege of doing business in Ohio. We do measure this by taxable gross receipts from most business activities. The CAT applies to gross receipts that are cited or sourced to just Ohio, so not other states, just what's sourced here to Ohio. And taxpayers with taxable gross receipts of more than $3 million in the calendar year are currently subject to the CAT. So effective in 2025, next year, taxpayers with taxable gross receipts of more than $6 million in the calendar year will then be subject to CAT. So you'll see that increase from the $3 million threshold in 2024 to then that $6 million threshold. Prior to 2024, so last year and previous, the taxable gross receipts of more than $150,000 was that threshold. So quite a difference. And again, for context, prior to CAT, there was a corporate franchise tax that was phased out, and then it was replaced by CAT, with CAT being enacted in 2005. This is just general information, and we do have resources available for everyone. At the end of the presentation, we'll go over that. So if you'd like to read more on the wonders of CAT, you certainly are welcome to. It is important to also consider what we call common ownership. So CAT does require that individuals with common ownership file as one taxpayer. So here we're referring to one taxpayer on this slide, but keep in mind that it could be a group of entities that are commonly owned by individuals or businesses. For filing requirements, let's talk about when payments and returns are due, and then annual minimum tax. So what has changed with the annual minimum tax? Beginning in 2024, annual filer will no longer be available. So that annual return beginning this year will no longer be there for you because we don't have annual taxpayers anymore. All taxpayers that remain subject to the CAT will be required to file quarterly. The quarterly deadlines are listed here. So quarter one, we have a May 10th. Quarter two is August 10th. Quarter three is November 10th. And then that last quarter four is February 10th. For this year in 2024, that quarter four return is actually due on February 12th, since that due date falls on the weekend. So for the annual taxpayers, the due date is on May 10th. And keep in mind, annual taxpayers with taxable gross receipts of less than the $3 million in 24, you can cancel your account now, again, with the effective date of 12/31/2023. So on this slide, just to visualize some of the changes here, on the left-hand side is how the AMT, or the annual minimum tax, was previously structured. On the right, you'll see the AMT has been eliminated beginning this year in 2024. So when the return is filed, the gateway will actually automatically apply the exclusion starting with the first quarter return, as it does now. If you file the 2023 return with less than 150,000 and you qualify for a refund, one important thing to keep in mind is that we will go ahead and process the refund without you submitting the refund claim. So there's nothing further that you will need to do to claim that refund or that credit. You can still submit a refund request if you like, but just keep in mind you're not required to. You do not have to do that. We will be reviewing the accounts and issuing refunds for any annual minimum tax credit and overpayments, okay? So on the left here, you can see just previously from 2023 and prior, the taxpayer will utilize its previous calendar year's taxable gross receipts to determine the current year. So that's why you may have a credit when you file the 2022 return, you prepaid for the 2023 annual minimum tax. So if you happen to file that final annual return and you do have a credit on the account, we'll go ahead and get that refund to you. Effective January 1st of this year, again, that AMT is eliminated. In 2024, the CAT tax rate of 0.26% will be charged as tax due on the receipts exceeding the $3 million. So anything over that $3 million amount. And then in 2025 and thereafter, again, same rule applies. It's just this amount is now increased to $6 million. So 0.26% tax will be charged on any amount over that $6 million threshold, okay? So what happens now? There are updates that have been made to our website. Again, that's tax.ohio.gov, which we'll go over here during this presentation. You can cancel using the checkbox on the final return. So Gateway actually has a checkbox that if you read, it does say that you can cancel your account with the effective date of 12/31/2023 by checking that box. And if you cancel using the checkbox, you do not need to complete the second option, which is to cancel using the CAT cancel transaction on the Gateway. So those are two options. You do not need to do them both. You can just pick one and get your account canceled in that way. So taxpayers with taxable gross receipts not exceeding the $3 million, generally you'll need to cancel with 12/31/2023 by either of those options. And then again, just as a reminder, If you do cancel your account, you still need to file that final return. That is still due for annual filers. The deadline is going to be May 10th. And then for quarterly filers, that deadline is going to be February 12th of this year, okay? For the future, for 2025, taxpayers with taxable gross receipts not exceeding the $6 million generally will cancel their account with an effective date of 12/31/2024. And then again, you'll still need to file the final return for the 2024 quarter 4 return, which is due February 10th of 2025. So now let's take a moment and go over some of our frequently asked questions that we've received so far. The first one, what should I do now if I will not have more than $3 million in taxable gross receipts in 2024? If you anticipate that you will have $3 million or less in taxable gross receipts in 2024, you may cancel your account now with the effective date of 12/31/23. Please note the final return for 23 is due in 2024. That's May 10th for the due date. For our quarterly taxpayers, that final return is due on February 12th of 2024. Alternatively, taxpayers, you may wait until you file that return to cancel your account at the same time. Okay, you don't have to go back and do the cancel transaction if you choose to cancel your account on that return. Number 2 is who must file CAT. So as we mentioned previously, so for prior years, 2023 and before, anyone with taxable gross receipts, Citus to Ohio, that's $150,000 threshold would be subject to CAT. This current year that we're in now, that threshold is $3 million. So 2024 taxable gross receipts, meaning receipts Citus to Ohio of $3 million or greater, that is that you're subject to CAT with that amount. And then next year, 2025, and after, that amount increases again to $6 million. Question number 3, do these changes impact periods prior to 2024? So this is we do have an information release actually on this subject. It explains the tiered structure that is associated with commercial activity tax and how the AMT or annual minimum tax is based on the prior calendar year's taxable gross receipts. The AMT will still be applied to periods prior to 2024, so nothing has changed with the prior years. Number 4, if I am no longer subject to CAT in 2024, do I still have to file a CAT return for 2023? So I cannot emphasize this enough. The answer is absolutely yes. Taxpayers subject to CAT must file that 2023 return as your final return, and that's due by May 10th again. So our quarterly taxpayers, they'll still need to file for all 4 quarters for 2023 by the due date, which is February 12th. Number 5, as an annual filer, will I owe tax for 2023? As the annual minimum tax for 2023 was prepaid when you filed the 2022 return, no tax will be due with the final return unless, of course, your taxable gross receipts that you reported on the return exceed that $1 million. And if it does, the amount is that 0.26% on any amount over that $1 million would then be tax due. For question number 6, what happens if I have taxable gross receipts that are slightly below the new exclusion amount and will likely increase in the next few years? So a couple different points on this question. If you anticipate exceeding $3 million in taxable gross receipts in the current year, 2024, we do recommend that you continue filing quarterly returns. No tax will be due until you exceed that $3 million because of that exclusion amount. But you may cancel the account and then reactivate it whenever you do exceed, like let's say you're not sure that you'll exceed that $3 million, you can go ahead and cancel your account and then get it reactivated when you exceed that new exclusion amount of $3 million. Taxpayers are required to register and pay the tax within 30 days of exceeding that exclusion amount. So just keep that in mind when seeing how this question applies to you. Number 7, I have a new business that exceeded $150,000 in taxable gross receipts in May of 2023. Will I still need to register for the CAT if I will not exceed $3 million in 2024? The CAT in calendar year 2023 still applies to taxpayers with $150,000 in taxable gross receipts. If you became subject to the CAT for 2023, you must register, file, and pay any tax due for calendar year 2023. Once the 2023 return has been filed, you may cancel your account with an effective date, again, of 12/31 of 2023. Question number 8, how do I cancel my CAT account? So accounts may be canceled on the gateway. That's one option by using the CAT cancel account transaction. That's actually on your dashboard as a transaction that you can choose to cancel your account. You also can cancel using that checkbox on the return if you choose to do so on the final return. Another option is we have our business account update form. That's located on tax.ohio.gov under the Forms tab at the top. Our examiners are here and willing to assist you to cancel your accounts over the phone as well if you need to. And then if you are one of our telefilers, we have sent out a letter that you can sign and either mail back or fax back to us to cancel your account that way. Now, what if I do not cancel my account? All registered CAT taxpayers with active accounts are required to file returns even if they do not meet the taxable gross receipt threshold, okay? If a taxpayer does not cancel its CAT account and fails to file the required returns, the taxpayer may receive delinquency notices and assessments, okay? So just keep that in mind. Please note that beginning this year on January 1st, annual filing is eliminated. So all of the remaining taxpayers must file on a quarterly basis, okay? CAT accounts that are annual filers, they won't be switched to quarterly until after that May 10th of 24 deadline. And this just allows time for them to file that final return and get that account canceled if need be. And then the last frequently asked question that we have is, I am in a combined or consolidated elected taxpayer group. Does each member of the group account need to reach the new exclusion amount to remain subject to the CAT? So this is a good question, and it can be confusing. In other words, if a combined group might have, let's say a combined group has 10 members and they all have receipts under that $3 million, but once the receipts are combined, they exceed the $3 million, this combined group would remain subject to the CAT since as a group in total, they meet that filing requirement. So the answer to this question is no, the exclusion amount applies to the total taxable gross receipts for the group. Combined and consolidated elected taxpayer groups must consider this the taxable gross receipts of all of its members in determining whether the taxpayer group will exceed that exclusion amount of $3 million in 2024 and then $6 million in 2025 and thereafter. Okay. So these are actually active links. And again, you guys do have access to this PowerPoint with its slides. So these are active links. On the bottom left-hand side of the screen, this is a link to the new information release that we have details of all the changes that we went over today. And on the right is a link to our new webpage for CAT on tax.ohio.gov. And this link has important information that you've seen. CAT and And anything that's updated, we will have it available as soon as possible on the link as well. If you have questions after this presentation, please feel free to reach out to me, or you can call any of our examiners for assistance. So we have the commercial activity tax number here below. That number is 888-722-8829. And again, my name is Amanda Fletcher. I can be reached via email at amanda.fletcher@tax.ohio.gov. Also, I wanted to remind everyone, if you have not signed up for our tax alerts, please, I highly recommend signing up for them. If you go to tax.ohio.gov and you just scroll all the way down to the very bottom of that main screen, you'll see a tax alerts icon there. You can click that icon and follow the simple directions on how to get signed up there. Any of the updates that we have or due dates, we send out tax alerts, so those are found very helpful. And keep in mind as well that we do have a presence on social media. So we are available on LinkedIn. You can follow us there, on Facebook, on X or Twitter, and YouTube as well. Keep in mind that we do share important information on our social media pages. So before I let you all go, I wanted to go over just a few questions or so that we've received from today's audience. So thank you all for joining. Give me just a moment here while I look and see what questions that we have from our audience. Okay, so here's a couple good ones. Question number one that we received from our audience today is, in 2024, if my Q1 quarter one taxable gross receipts are under $4 million, can I take the $3 million exclusion and pay the 0.26% on the remaining amount? So yes, the answer is yes. The taxable gross receipts greater than the $3 million will be taxed at that 0.26%. So that full exclusion amount applies in the first quarter, and then if you don't use it in the first quarter, any remaining amount will just be carried forward to each subsequent quarter within that same calendar year, okay? Another good question here is, will I be able to cancel my CAT account if I file using Telefile at the time of filing my annual return on May 10th of 24? So Telefile actually will not have an option to cancel the account. So I know that we have sent out a letter to all of our telefilers. So there is an option to sign that and either mail it or fax it back to us to cancel your account that way. Or you can call the department and one of our examiners will assist you in canceling your account over the phone as well. You can also send us that business account update form if you'd like as another option, okay? So a few more questions here. Can a CAT account be canceled after 12/31 of 2023? So yes, a CAT account can be canceled after 12/31/2023 with an effective date. Please use 12/31/2023, okay? It is recommended that the account be canceled by the due date of the 2023 return. So that due date, again, is May 10th. We do recommend that the account be canceled. So that way, if there's any refund or credit available to you, we can get that. Another question we have here is, if a person is no longer subject to CAT, can they just cancel their CAT account and not file the return for 2023? So that's a good question. If you're no longer subject to CAT after 2023, you will need to cancel that account effective the last day of 23, 12/31, and file that final return, the annual 2023 return, by the due date of May 10th, okay? And then lastly here, when should a quarterly taxpayer cancel their CAT account if they know they will not have gross receipts of $3 million of 2024? So quarterly taxpayers, you can cancel your account now, actually. There's no need to wait. So with an effective date, again, of 12/31/2023, just keep in mind, as a quarterly taxpayer, you still need to file. We're coming up on the due date soon, actually, February 12th. So you'll still need to file that final return, okay? So that concludes our questions here from the audience. I do again want to thank everyone for joining today. We do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us here and learning more about CAT. And again, my name is Amanda Fletcher. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next time. Thank you.